Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bitchslapping Your Way to Your Next Level. My name's Laura Mazzotta, and I'm a spiritual empowerment coach, in addition to being a therapist for 20 years. And I am bringing on Katie Withe today. She's going to be here in just a second. And Katie Withe is a Reiki Master teacher, and she's also an overall illuminator. What does that mean to be an illuminator? Literally just being in her energy is going to fully light you up from the inside out. You're going to feel like your most radiant self just by being in her presence. Hi!
Hi!
About how magical you are.
Thank you for having me here.
You're so welcome. I'm so excited to chat about bitch slapping.
Oh, gosh, I've needed this. I've needed to bitch slap the old Katie out of the way. Get out.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So this came up, friends, because Katie was like, dude, I just need to bitch slap myself back into, whatever. And I was like, oh, that's a brilliant name for a live. Let's talk about it live. So we're processing Katie's bitch slap live on.
I'm here for it.
So let's share with everybody. For you, what does it look like to bitch slap yourself? Because we all do it, right? Like we all bitch slap ourselves back into shape. So what does that look like for you?
Well, right now it's been connecting back with music. I was literally sitting at my computer being like, I don't want to do this thing that I was working on. And I was like, get out of the way, right? And I went back into I started being like, move, bitch, get out of the way, right? And that was so I started dancing to that song by Ludacris, right? Because it was like, get out of my way. And I think by having fun with it, this is the first time I've actually brought some fun into getting out of my own way. It made it light. It made it better. And it was like, okay, yeah, really get out of my way so that I can step into this different version of myself, this elevated version. So I think having fun has been the key to this particular way of getting out of my own way.
Yeah, no, I love that so much because that's what, we do that in my house all the time. It's just using humor and fun to be able to get the stuff. Let me ask you, what is the part of you that you were bitch slapping to get out of the way?
The thoughts, the thoughts that were telling me to stay small, and that's you don't need to do this. Who the hell are you thinking that you could go create this thing and that you could provide value and have an impact on others? And no, just keep doing what you're doing, Katie. What you have is enough. And I was like, well, I'm grateful for everything that I have. And yet I know that I'm here for this bigger calling. I know that I'm not living that true potential that I can feel in my bones, and just needing to get out of my own way. So for me, it was a lot of thoughts.
See, I love that though, because I think that what can happen is that when we bitch slap ourselves, we're really criticizing,
Yeah.
I know that can be a layer of it, that can certainly be, and sometimes we become aware we need to bitch slap ourselves when we start criticizing, sometimes you, and then we're like, oh wait, I don't think this is healthy, or this is
Right.
something that I need to shift. But yeah, I think what would be helpful is for us to talk about how to lovingly redirect ourselves, because that's really what it is. It's a redirection because, yes, they're thoughts, and we need to have the ability to dictate to our egos instead of allowing them to dictate to us. And what I love what you said was, I can feel my next level. I can feel the possibility. I can feel what I'm moving toward. And that's the important part that I think I really want people to take from what you said is feel into what you desire, and then allow all of the back talk or whatever else is coming from your field or other people to kind of fall away, right? So it's it's that feeling we want to connect to, and allowing that to be more prominent than the thoughts.
Yeah, and I love this because I have two thoughts here. It's I feel like I have spent many of the past recent weeks healing, really feeling into my feelings, allowing myself to feel, allowing that rest. And now it's Katie, get out of your own fucking way and just go do the thing, right? You've given yourself the time and space. It's to me, I don't feel like I'm avoiding it, right? And
Yeah.
so lovingly, I think that's where the fun came in too, right? I'm like, let's have some fun. Like, let's make this fun. And that's how I feel like I'm showing up for myself from a place of love versus that criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just talking with a client about this yesterday. She was like, I fell off the wagon. And I was like, but did you? Like, did you fall off your path, or is it just a turn in your path? Like, have you always been on the track, and it's just a detour? And so now we have the awareness, and now we're going to start that redirect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and she was like, wow. And I was like, yeah, that came from spirit. That didn't come from me, right? Like, that was just like, but of course I needed to hear that message too. It's like, okay, I have the awareness, right? I've allowed myself to feel, I have this awareness, and now let's redirect it. Let's have some fun. Let's shake it up. Let's come from a place of love for myself and be like, no, I'm worthy and deserving of all of the things that have been placed into my soul to put out in this human form.
Yeah, see, I really love that because you gave yourself space. You gave yourself
Yeah.
space for whatever needed to come up. And then you were like, all right, like enough of this BS, let's move on. And so that I think is perfect, right? Because we don't want to avoid, like you said, we don't want to avoid and spiritually bypass and just say, no, that's not an issue. I'm just going to go, put on a happy face and dance in the streets, Instead,
Right.
like, when you place attention and you turn toward those things that you need to heal and clear, and you don't even need to get much of a conscious understanding of it. I mean, if you do, great. But at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're spending time with it. You're getting to know it. You're giving it space to say something if it needs to. And
Yep.
then it does come a point where it's like, okay, like I don't want to become addicted to healing. I don't want to sit here and be like, because the more that we sit in that, the more we give ourselves the message that ultimately we're flawed.
Yeah.
There's something wrong that needs to be fixed. And instead, what you were able to say is like, but there's something here that at the same time I feel this way, there's something I'm really excited about and I feel really mobilized toward. And so when you get enough of that pull, that's when you can say, like, all right, done. I'm going to put this to bed now. I've spent time with it. I've given it its space. Now it's time to move on.
100%. And that's exactly where I was at. And it doesn't mean, like, this morning I woke up and I was like, I really don't want to get up out of bed. I'm like, okay, what can I do for myself? So I did a tapping, and then my inner child was coming in hot after that tapping, and I was like, okay, let's spend some time with her. And like, that's the beautiful part of it. Like, I'm allowing the healing to come in when it needs to, instead of being so hyper focused on it like I have been in the past, where it's like, nope, I got to be in this healing zone for like ever and ever until I'm perfect. And it's like, that's baloney, right? Like, we're
Yeah,
never
but you know
perfect.
what? You know what that highlights? That highlights an up level for you, which is
Yeah.
fucking exciting because what that means is it's like, yeah, you were sitting in this. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. And you were sitting in this and you get to that point where you're like, yeah, I don't have to like I don't have to sit in this for as long. I don't have to get to that space of perfection. And when we up level and we continue to do this work repeatedly, you notice that you don't have to spend as much time in that space. And it's so cool because, like, first of all, it sounds like your morning was much better than mine. I was like, dude, that's so beautiful. I want to go back into bed and start over and do it the Katie way.
I don't know. It was at like 4:30 this morning. I don't know if that's really true,
Oh,
but
okay, I'd be so angry if I were you. You're so friendly right now, considering you got up before. Anyway, yeah, I mean, like being able to say, like, all right, I'm going to implement this, I'm going to implement that, and then I'm going to go on with my day, and I'm going to get excited, or I'm going to get whatever. And I love that because it's evidence for people who are early on in the healing journey that can get so stuck in the cycle and also feel like, is this really working? Like, is this going to get me anywhere? Like, what is this going to do for me? And to see that in real time with you and with my experience and our clients and our loved ones, people that we've seen go through these changes, that as you stay consistent with yourself and you pay attention and you cultivate a relationship, then when those things come up, like the other day, I was super mushy gushy about something and I turned toward it and it was like, boom, almost instantaneous
Mhm.
because I've programmed myself to not run and not avoid. And that's what I did for so many years.
Yeah, I feel that too. And I feel like I ran just deeper and deeper into the healing as like an avoidance strategy almost.
Yeah.
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 Ugh.
People will say to me, they'll be like, "Oh, I need to dive into this, or I need to focus on, strategy for my business or something like that." And I'm just like, "Yeah, okay, that sounds great, but before you go there, what are you avoiding?"
Right.
Like, are you either sitting in the healing because you're avoiding moving forward, or you're focused on all of the tasks and the things you have to check off your list, even if that's self-care, right? Like self-care can be a distraction because
Yes.
people can like not immerse too deeply in that, but just kind of check it off their list.
Yep.
And because they're avoiding getting to their bigger power is really
Yeah.
what. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think I reflect back on the past couple years where I've really dove into that healing way deeper than I ever had before. And it was totally an avoidance because I was afraid of stepping into my own power. Right. And, along the way, I've come out and I've emerged a little bit. Right. And then that gets scary. And so I hide again. Right. And
Yeah.
I feel like I'm at this level now where I'm like, get out of my way.
Mhm.
You're good. Just start taking action. Just start moving forward. Like the words that keep coming forward are like people are judging you whether you show up or not, whether you do the thing or not. They're judging you. It's there. It's fine. Do you, right? Like just get out and do you and say what's on your mind and go do the thing. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. Like I feel like the perfectionism has really started to like fall away.
Yeah, and I love that you that this kind of runs in cycles.
Yes.
because because it does. I still go through cycles. Everybody goes through cycles. We're human beings. That's not something that we're going to get away from. And that's when spiritual bypassing comes in, is when we do try to get away from that, and we do try to avoid, well, I'm just going to hang out in other dimensions and forget the fact that I'm human, and like,
Right.
no, we really want to make sure that we're attending to kind of both our duality or our polarity of who we are. But yeah, it's so funny because you talk about the power thing, and what came up there was, what if we didn't have to talk about stepping into our own power because that feels too daunting, and instead we just talk about making ourselves available or creating space within us for like the universe or God's power to be expressed through us? Then we don't have to own it right away. Does that make sense?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, feels good, right?
That feels really like warm and fuzzy. That and and that it doesn't feel like ego, right? I think sometimes me stepping into power feels like ego, and the way that you just said that, like just holding that space to allow the universe or God to place whatever they want to through ourselves to put out into the world, like that I think that's where I've ultimately ended up surrendering, right? Like really deeply surrendering in, like, I am just this human being placed on this earth to pull out this mission that is on my soul, but it's been placed by God or the universe on my
Mm.
soul to be like put out into the world. Am I saying that right?
No, absolutely, because it's true. Like when we think about my power, it's not mine,
Yeah.
right? Like I take responsibility. Oh, I like this. I take responsibility for cultivating the fertile ground within myself so that God, the universe source, can like plant its seeds to grow through me. That's
Yes.
that's where my ownership comes in, right? Is like me taking responsibility for my landscape being spacious enough, open enough, fertile enough for that to be planted so that I can serve. But it's not my power, because that's me claiming God's power. It's me just becoming available for God's power. Oh, I love that.
I love, love, love that. Oh, I just recently pulled a card about like stepping into your power, and I love this perspective of it. It feels so much better, right? Because it does feel daunting to step into a power. I
Yeah.
feel like the other thing that I've done this level up, like in bitch slapping myself, has been alone time. For
Uh,
so for so long, I avoided time with myself because I knew that's where I could create that space. and that fertile ground to have those desires placed on my heart and put out into the world, right? And so recently I'm like, nope, I need more alone time. Nope, you got the kids, I got to go out. Like, it's been so empowering. And I think I forgot through the past couple years too, just life situations, how much alone time I used to have and how much I actually missed it, right? Instead of being fearful of it, I actually deeply missed it. And it's been so enlightening, going for more drives, going for more runs, just being in quiet, like not getting up when my alarm went off this morning and just staying in bed and being like, no, I can do all of these things laying in my bed. I don't have to be sitting perfectly upright. I don't have to be in my meditation chair. I don't have to be in this spot. I can just be. I can just be right here and go and do and create that space, because this is what feels good right now in this moment. Yeah.
Love that you honored that and you didn't place like restrictions or rules upon it, because there are no rules. I remember after I got sepsis 6 years ago and I started meditating a few months after I had it, and I was kind of like, well, I'm just laying in bed anyway. I'm not going anywhere. I might have something. I guess I'll meditate. And so that's like how it started. And, you know, there's some of these meditations that are like, make sure you sit upright with your spine erect and make sure that all the chronic shit is aligned. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Fuck this. I'm literally just going to lay on my ass and start it, you know, because that's better than not doing it at all, you know? And it's your body's wisdom is more important than any guru out there that tells you how to do it correctly. And that's what's so cool about like bringing new and new people to this path, is that we get to learn more and more ways to work. Because we're all unique, we're all different, we all have different messages coming from our bodies dictating how we're meant to interact with it, you know? And so then that's how we create new modalities. That's how we create new opportunity to connect with divine intelligence and to have infinite answers and possibility.
Yeah, it's those different perspectives that also has helped me let go of the perfectionism. I'm like, oh, but they're showing up this way. Like, so in a way, it's kind of that comparison game, right? We can kind of fall into that comparison trap. But for me, I've been able to like take that bird's eye view, step back and be like, oh, Laura's showing up this way and this person's showing up this way. Why can't I show up the way that I want to show up? And still we're all meditating, but we're showing up in our own way, right? Like, that helped me like let go of some perfectionism that I had sitting there, that, to your point, I have to be sitting up and like, you know, the program stuff.
And it's so funny because like, I even think about it and I'm like, I tell some of my clients this all the time, is that there will be people online that are literally the weirdest fucking humans I've ever seen in my life, right? Like, there's my judgmental side coming out, right? But like the strangest, and first of all, I love weird. Like, the weirder you are, the closer we're going to be.
Yeah, I'm weird.
However, they come on and man, the shit that they're doing online. Or like TJ Therian, I don't know if you follow him. If you don't, you absolutely have to, because he's fucking hysterical. And he does all these videos on like on birth order, like, and how the kids act, you know, based on birth order. And it's so funny. And man, this guy's like a total sensation. Like, he's made a total, completely enormous business out of just basically laughing at children's behavior, right? And so it's just like so funny to me, because there's people making millions off of like toilet paper, you know, things that they've like stamped onto toilet paper that are funny. And yet we're sitting here thinking we have to show up a certain way. There is someone for everyone.
100%.
So I love
and I think that was another part of it. Like, I have to accept that I'm not for everyone, right? Like, I love that, because that's another piece of this, like getting into the next level. I'm not going to be for everyone. I'm going to hear lots of no's and I'm going to hear lots of crickets, and that's okay, because they're not my people. They're not who I'm going after, and that's okay. Oh gosh, I love that.
But I don't know. I might want to be friends with the toilet paper people.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, it is. But the thing is, I love what you're saying, and it's such a good point. But I also, and I think that's necessary, particularly as we're working through certain phases. Like right now I'm working through a phase, and I think it's because of this fucking eclipse energy. Because,
seriously,
oh my God. I mean, like the level of journaling over the past couple days, and I'm just like, dude, everything from the depths is coming forward, which is great because I know what's on the other side of this, but it's also like, oh my God, you know, like it can feel intense, you know? And so we want to be really compassionate and loving to ourselves as we go through that and know clearly, you know, what's on the other side of that experience and to have fun with it. But what I was saying before was that we can look outside of ourselves to get permission to be authentic.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, well, this person's doing that. And the bottom line is we're going to do that as human beings. You know, we are relational beings and we deeply desire connection and belonging. And that is it's actually a very necessary part of the co-regulation of our nervous system. Whether we're looking for it egoically or not, our nervous system are looking for that belonging and connection. So that means that we're naturally going to be looking outside of ourselves to be able to kind of gauge where we are. And it takes time and practice and an understanding of our own nervous systems and cultivating that energy to be able to refer to our internal state of being. You know, I still find myself doing that sometimes, you know, and it's not about doing it and then kicking yourself for it. It's about recognizing it, having an awareness and being like, oh, thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. I didn't notice that pattern before. Now that I'm aware of it, I'm going to allow that to kind of settle and then decide where I want to go.
Yeah. I love all of that, right? Like and I feel like the longer you are in this journey, it's easier to go, okay, this is a cycle.
Yeah.
Right? Like it will pass, more clarity will come forward, but I'm with you. I filled up like 2 full journals and I'm like, wow, like the amount of stuff that's coming up is insane. But to your point, you're able to like look at it, move through it and move on, right? It comes faster and faster.
And like you make it fun. Like how can you make it fun? So like
yeah,
it is really fun to fill up journals because then I get to buy new pens.
Yes.
Right? Then I get to buy new pens because I'm obsessed with good pens. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'm blowing through so many pens. I'm like, this is great. I get to order new pens.
I'm like, oh, I get to go to Staples. This is awesome. Yes! Yay! I was in Home Goods yesterday and I was like, oh, I get to buy a new journal. Like, I didn't even think of that perspective of like the funness, but like, yeah, the more I write, the more I get to buy pens and journals, and that's exciting and fun.
Really exciting. Like literally, it's funny because we have our retreat coming up in a few weeks and we're going shopping to get like journals and pens and all the things. And I was, I'm so excited to go get pens and journals. So much fun. Oh, Maria's asking, I love the title. Did you come up with it, Laura? No, this was all Katie Withe, man. We're chatting over DM and I was like, what do you want to talk about in our life? She's like, I don't know. I don't even know. All I've been doing lately is just trying to bitch slap myself. And I was like, that's it. Perfect. There's our lives.
It's absolutely perfect. I have been like amped since we came up with this title. It's like, yeah, we just need to get out of our own way lovingly. And like, again, reminding ourselves that like it gets easier the more that you do this work, right? And showing up from a place of love with some fun, this funness in it, like makes all of the difference. And I feel like, I mean, it's been like 5+ years since I've been doing this type of work. And it's like, I finally got this clarity, right? Like make it fun instead of being journaling, making it like something I have to do. Well, hey, if I fill up this journal, like I get to go, you know, buy new ones. So,
or get new sneakers if you're going running. That's fun too. See?
Yeah.
I need to come to you, get my ass out running or something, man. That sounds good.
Gosh, I love running so much. And, you know, that's been another big reflection. Like I ran cross country in high school, and for a while that was like a great stress reliever, but then it became, what's the word? Like, kind of like this perfectionism and almost like this, way to shame my body, right? Like needing to be in perfect shape and to go after all those PRs and to like do better, right? So I've done a lot of work on that, but yet coming back to this space where like I'm not running to race and to hit these goals and just to go out and be out in the woods in nature and like be with myself. That's what I've come back to. And that's where like, that's when I was like, okay, I've healed from this part of this, right? Like just to be able to go out and not worry about what my watch says. Like I went on so many runs without my watch because I was like, I don't want to even know how long I was gone for.
See, that is so beautiful. Like that's another layer of surrender and being able to really, what you're doing is you're releasing attachment to the outcome and you're finding joy in the process. You know, and that's what you need reminders about all the time, you know, is like, it's not the outcome or the result or what you're getting out of something, you know. Did you enjoy the process? Like I was playing a game. What was I doing with my son the other day? He wanted to make chocolate mousse. And so I know, right? So good. And so we were making chocolate mousse and it didn't come out great. We had to make a couple substitutes because we didn't have a lot in the house that day, but he was like, I really want to do it. Like he was like devoted. I'm like, all right, we're going to make this work. Like, let's just pull out the stops.
How bad can we mess up chocolate?
Yeah. I mean, kinda. So we were pulling out like random ingredients to kind of put in this shit. And it wasn't really working so well. But anyway, so we ended up improvising. We got it done and he tried it and he starts to like tear up and he's like, I don't like it. And I was like, I know. I was like, I'm sorry, honey. I actually liked it. I thought it was really good. But anyway, I said, I was like, honey, but wasn't this fun to do together? To like get creative and to think about other solutions and to just, we were just like so playful and just had such a good time together doing it. And it showed me how much he's growing up too. He's almost 12, but you know, then he stopped, he just like went like this and he looked at me and he's like, it was fun, you know? And I was like, oh my gosh, like it was so sweet to see him respond to that. But honestly, it's so crazy to see how much that gets ingrained even at a young age. Like that, like that, like it has to be good or else it wasn't worth it, you know?
As you're talking, I'm thinking of all of these examples of just the past couple days of our kids and just how we like strive for that perfectionism and that like, yeah, if it's not good, if the result isn't good enough, then you're not good enough. And somehow that like, it does get ingrained in you.
I know. And yeah. I think about it and I'm just like, all right, well, I certainly had a lot of trouble with perfectionism most of my life. So I was like, you know, apple doesn't fall far. However, it's like, it's so beautiful to be able to be where I am and where we are so that we can be more preventive with our children. And messages earlier on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that because I feel like for a while I felt a lot of pressure to like not mess up my kid. My kids now.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Like I was like, oh God, I'm gonna mess her up like so bad. She's gonna have to go through so much therapy because I must just be really messing her up. And I'm like, but like I'm giving the best that I can at each given moment. And to your point, like being in this space, we have the opportunity to help change those thought patterns, to help change that behavior and really make a shift in my eyes, like shifts for generations to come after, right?
Yeah.
And like break those cycles. But also being aware of like that it's not my sole responsibility to do that, right? There's this very big balance of like, okay, this isn't my sole mission, but here's what I can do a little bit to help them in that moment so that they can still have their own journey.
I really fucking love that you just said that because that's one of the hardest things to surrender as women is your children's path. Like that's one of the hardest things to trust and just know like their souls that chose us as their parents as well. They are sovereign beings who came here to do X, Y, and Z. Do they have conscious awareness of that when they're little? No, not necessarily. Right. But you know, they chose to do this life with us as well. And so they know the lessons that they're going to learn from us. And we get to obviously guide them, obviously hold them, obviously love them, and foster that connection and that belonging, but also give them that space. And like Cassidy's saying too, like my son's a manifester and Cassidy's a manifester too. Like they need so much space and freedom. And manifester in human design, for any of you who don't know about human design, you should go to jovianarchive.com and look up your human design chart, because it's really fucking fabulous. But anyway, but yeah, exactly. Like giving them that space and freedom to fuck up, to do things that we might be like, no, 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 you know, like we want to protect them from it. But, you know, like I say, if you're bleeding out, let me know. And I'll come in and I'll interfere with your sibling argument. You know what I mean? But other than that, I trust you to figure it out, to, you know,
Yes.
to a degree, of course. But,
right.
you know, and it depends on their age. But I think that whole concept of like releasing your attachment to the outcome of your children, because ultimately, why do we do that? We do that because of its reflection on us.
Yep. 100%.
And it's not about us at all.
Nope.
Again, it's not my power, it's God's. And we are only receiving that fertile ground. And it's funny because like, I used to be so judgy, like, especially when I had my first child. And I was like I was so neurotic about sleep times. And one of my girlfriends was like, she just put whatever the fuck they wanted. Like, it was just like, whatever, like, we're just gonna, you know, we're going to go camping, and we're going to go do this, and we're going to have a late night movie. And I was just like, oh, your child is like 3. They need to go to bed, right? It's just so funny because, you know, I look at that now and I'm like, it's actually really beautiful that she was fully herself and just said, this is who I am. I love being flexible. I love just spending time with my kids and having experiences. And her kids signed up for that, and she signed up for that. And it's a beautiful unfolding. It's just different than, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, so the amount of judgment, I'm becoming so much more aware of my judgments that come out for myself and towards others, right? Like, it's so interesting. And you were talking about human design. I'm a manifestor too. And I think that I spent a lot of time in the past month. This is also part of like getting out of my own way, is to really learn more about like, well, who am I? Like, how am I designed? So spending more time in human design, spending more time in my birth chart, has been really helpful in how I operate in life best. And so I was able to like release so much of this like guilt and shame around like, I'm a manifestor. I like time alone. Like, so it explains so much why having a child home with me does not make me feel free. Right. And that just makes me like I can feel myself choking saying that. Right. So I feel like the more you explore yourself and who you are designed, like to those cores based on your birth, right? I feel like that helps you understand yourself more and gives us more of that freedom and that, I don't know, it's like this, maybe maybe it is just like surrendering into who you are.
I think it's like an acceptance. It's so funny. Yeah. I were just talking about this too. We've talked about this like several times over the course of our marriage, but like, he's such a go, go, go. Like he's a freaking Virgo sun. So he's like, get everything in order, you know? So he's like, he's go, go, go. He's taking care of everything. And meanwhile, I'm like, whatever, like, let's just relax and snuggle, you know? And so it's just so funny because we were talking about this concept of like, you know, it's not keeping tabs and like keeping score, right? Of I did this, and he was talking about it, and he was like, he looked at me and because I was feeling badly because I've had this cold for like forever. And before that I had the stomach bug, and I'm like, okay, seriously, Laura Mazzotta is freaking up leveling here. But, so anyway, and so I was feeling badly because I was like, oh, you know, I'm not doing as much and he's doing more and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you know, it's important to not look at the day to day and like what we're doing, this, that, and the other. He's like, you are never going to operate at the pace that I operate. And I said, no, I know that. I'm very in full acceptance of that. And like for the first 5 years of our relationship, I felt inadequate next to that because of insecurities, and I had to work through that. You know what I mean? But now, I mean, years and years ago, I came to acceptance of that. And I said to him, I was like, listen, you know, I choose to spend the vast majority of my time quietly, like little stimulation, being by myself. I love that. And he said, I said to him, I was like, if I operated at your pace, I would be absolutely miserable. And he said, yeah, you would be miserable. He's like, I would not want you to. And it's so cool to be able to see that level of acceptance. And it's good that he reflects that, because it reflects in even that tiny little area that I still desire to accept it within myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, you know, yeah, I'm never going to be at that space where I'm operating at that pace. And I truly don't desire it. I really,
Yes.
and it's like being okay with that, you know?
Yeah. You're right. It's total acceptance. And I love how you're saying that, because I've been sending my husband more of the human design. He's a manifesting generator. He can go, go, go until the sun comes home. Like, and so last week, I was having a really rough day. It was a rough morning with the girls. I was solo with them. And he simply texted me and said, I got the girls. As soon as I get home, you leave. And like, literally, I was like waiting at the door, like with my bag. I'm like, okay, hi, kissed him, and I left.
Oh my God, I've so been there. Yes.
But like, he helped give me that freedom and permission almost, right? Because
Yeah.
I've been sharing more. I'm like, this is why I am how I am. He's like, Katie, I've been trying to tell you that for years. And I'm like, yeah, but you weren't saying it that way, right? Like, and I felt like, and I also felt like he had to, because he is my husband. He's that other support system, right? And so it felt like I was putting too much on him, but really, he's designed to do that crap. And with my other two children who are manifesting generators, like the three of them are going to go have tons of fun, going, and I'm going to be like, bye.
See you later. Exactly.
And like, I feel like that just helps me accept. It's totally acceptance. That's the word I was looking for before. It's just, yeah, it's helped release a lot of that guilt and shame. Like, normally I would have been like, I could never leave the girls with you, you know, to go and do my own thing. And now I'm like, no, but this is what I need, and this is what he needs, right? It also gives him an opportunity to grow and expand and build those relationships with them too.
See, I love that too, because I tell people that all the time. I'm like, you know, I truly believe that like this business that I'm running, the life that I'm living, the vitality that I embody is seriously built on the foundation of my relationship with my husband, you know? Yeah. Because we both play a part, and he is just as of service as I am, just yes. In a way. He's of service in a different way. And so who am I to take away his desire to fulfill his purpose? Because he actually loves fucking taking care of everything and everybody. Like, he loves that. That lights him up. That totally fulfills his soul. And like, just because I'm not the same way, and I don't necessarily get how that fills him up, like, he doesn't get how it fills me up to sit around and journal for 3 hours. Like, right. He's crazy. He'd be like, I hate, you know what I mean? And so it's being able to like appreciate that. Although we talked earlier about like not looking outside of yourself for that permission and stuff, I do know that for me and my human journey, especially with like a long history of trauma and stuff, it's very helpful to have that human foundation to kind of bolster you as you shift over to that internal authority. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you're right. It just means that like, you're finding human balance, because what that does is it opens up freedom for me to explore. Like, I'm mostly in human design. How did this become talking about human design? But
I don't know.
In human design, 3/4 of my arrows are pointing right, which means that I'm 75% feminine energy. And so for me, like, I don't want to be pinned down by everything. I want to flow. I want to be free. And that lack of safety and like being in a solid foundation gives me less, I guess, courage or less freedom and space to be able to just flow and be like, yeah, this is awesome. It's like secure attachment. Then I can come back and be like, yeah, I'm grounded. I'm good. I'm anchored. And now I have more freedom to be able to flow and be like, whatever, you know? And so then I explore more about me. I get to know myself even better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think that's how we started talking about it. Like, for me, it's been the human design and the birth chart. It helps us to find out who we are better. And so that gives us the freedom to lovingly help ourselves out of our own way.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm going to be doing a reel shortly. Spoiler alert on astrology. I've been doing this series on like your healing tools, rating your healing
Oh
tools.
yeah. It's been an awesome series.
So fun. It's just so fun. And so I'm doing astrology today and just talking about how one of the things that astrology helps me the most with, or helped me at least originally, was you know, realizing that a lot of the feelings that I was having or the energy that I was carrying, some of it was mine, some of it was not mine, and some of it was truly just the cosmos shifting. And like the more that I understood, I'm like, yes, these are enormous bodies of energy. Planets are enormous bodies of energy that are like floating around in this free space and like beaming energy that are then affecting our planet, shifting our planet. And then they're coming into us. And sure, we're getting it at like a very tiny amount relative to like the atmosphere of our planet as it's receiving, but we're still feeling it. And being able to realize that sometimes it's not like we can get in our heads and be like, oh my gosh, as soon as something goes up, why am I feeling this way? Oh no, here we go again. I'm going back to, you know, shitstorm Laura. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like we get into this, we create this big story around it. And instead it's like, no, the fucking moon's pissing me off.
It's so true. I was talking with clients about this. It's like, in a way, it's helpful to like blame the moon or blame, you know, the other planets, because it's not all about you all the time, right? Like, yes, you're feeling those impacts, but like you said, like it's maybe not all of your emotion, or it's not even somebody else's. It's the planets. It's just how the world spins round and round. And so being able to recognize that, and like we were talking about, like not pointing blame at the moon, right? Like
right. Yes, exactly. I will not blame the moon, I promise.
But yeah, it's just I feel like it helps again understand the healing, the cycle, the feelings a little bit more.
Well, and how to work with the energy, because again, you can say, oh, it's Jupiter's fault, and then avoid and bypass and not dive into shit. So this suggestion is obviously in addition to the fact that you are turning towards your shit and like not avoiding, right? But yeah, but it's also like, how do you work with the energy? So I can be like, oh wow, like today I realized, I was like, wow, this eclipse energy. Woo! You know, and so instead of saying, oh, it's the eclipse's fault and they're just being done with it and shutting the door on it, instead I go to, let me read more in depth about it, more than I already know, so that I can understand how this energy operates, so that I can harness it and direct my energy in a way that flows better with what's naturally occurring in the cosmos right now, which then allows me to be more efficient and more effective and more motivated and more in alignment.
Yes. All of that. You had posted, actually, was it Uranus? And I was like, or Neptune?
Oh,
I don't know.
Uranus one. Yeah, that account's great because she does like, they do like all the planets, and it's super helpful.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, I need to go back into my birth chart and figure out what house that is in. And I forgot about it until this conversation. So
yeah. No, Uranus
yeah.
is like a really, that's one of the, like the planets that I find the most impact from are Jupiter. Well, Jupiter's the ruler of my birth chart, and you can find the ruler of your birth chart by determining the ruling planet of the sign that your rising sign is in.
Okay.
So mine is Sagittarius.
Okay. Mine is Leo.
Okay. So I don't know what the ruling planet of Leo, I would have to look it up. But
I think, isn't it the sun? Doesn't the sun?
Oh, you know what? You might be right, actually.
Yeah. So wherever the sun is would be. Yeah. See, this is fascinating. It's such a huge topic.
I know. Oh, and KPSM 225. I actually have a highlight on my account that includes steps to look up your birth chart and then a reel to show you how to do it. So if you wanna start there, go for it. And you know, get confused, go to cafeastrology.com, because they have really good ways of like, I don't like going there simply because they don't include all the aspects, but especially as a beginner, Cafe Astrology is really helpful because they will like give you paragraphs of explaining what each one means, which is really helpful. So you can try that too.
Yeah, I started on cafe astrology too. And
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
good. The sun. Yay!
Yay! Thanks,
Which is
Luce.
also because that's masculine energy, Katie. You
Yeah.
know, sun is masculine energy, and that's the rule of your birth chart. But anyway, so yeah, Jupiter, I love. The moon, of course, the sun, and Chiron. Chiron is an asteroid. You're not going to find that on Cafe Astrology, but that's the wounded healer. That's like what brings up our old wounds and then kind of releases.
Yeah.
It brings it up with the intention of release, with the intention of healing, so that we can get to our next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think mine is in Pisces, which is also
Oh,
my sun sign. Freaking
well,
Pisces,
holy
man.
balls! And I said to my team yesterday, we had a team meeting, and I was like, Jesus, if the more fucking planets could come out of Pisces, that would be really helpful, because
Yeah, it'd be great.
so many planets in Pisces that like my intuition is just like boom, 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 and I'm like, I need a break.
I'm like, dude, the emotion is crazy.
I know.
I know. Gotta
But
love our Pisces being.
I love Pisces so much. It's
Yeah.
actually funny. It's funny because I was talking about the planets. My first thought was that's one of my favorite. That's my most intuitive sign. Whenever the moon is in Pisces, it is just like pouring in.
Flowing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very intuitive. Yeah.
So I love that. All right, friends. So is there anything else that we want to share about bitchslapping with these lovely humans before we jump off? And those of you who just jumped on, you can catch the replay too, since we're starting to finish up here.
Yeah. No, I feel like recognize the feelings, bring that awareness. Alone time has been huge. Knowing who you are with human design and astrology has been super helpful.
Yeah.
In accepting who you are. And really, I really love what you said of just like when we create that alone time and that self-care, instead of it checking the box, really allowing it to fill us and create that fertile soil within us and allowing God or the universe to come forward. That's huge. That I feel like that's a huge part of it.
I totally agree with you. And like one of the things I used to tell my therapy clients for 20 years was I always used to say over and over again, criticism is not a motivator. Criticism is not a motivator. Criticism is not a motivator. Like stop criticizing. It's not going to motivate you forward at all. All it does, it may actually make you feel better temporarily, but that's because you're validating the shame that exists underneath. So like from that, please. So yeah, like definitely not calling it your power, but saying I am owning my responsibility for the fertile ground that I am, creating more and more space in to welcome what is meant to flow through me. Oh, such goodness when we talk.
Oh, and have fun with it. I love this. Thank you so much for having me here. This has been amazing and totally like the way I want to start every day.
No, we need to do more of these because it's just so fun.
I agree. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Love you, people. And we'll see you soon. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.